What is going on YouTube? So
Oh, there we are.
sorry. There we are. Why don't you just start it off, babe? Why don't you tell the peeps what's good on today's episode?
Yeah, we wanted to start the episode just wishing
Miyazaki!
a happy 80th birthday.
Happy 80th birthday, my mans.
Doom.
Doom!
If you guys don't know, he is a co-founder of Studio Ghibli, which has created anime as Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro,
How's Moving
Howl's Moving
Castle?
Castle, what other one? Princess Mononoke.
That
That
one.
was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but I don't like it, but it is what it is. We'll get into that on a different episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to start off the episode by saying happy birthday to Mr. Miyazaki.
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki. Sorry for any mispronunciation. Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. That makes me feel terrible. Well, we appreciate everyone taking their Tuesday to tune in on today's Mixed Media episode number 4. We're your hosts, Live with Enrique.
Ariana Villalon.
And today's episode, we're talking about comics.
American
comics, Western comics. Yeah, it's funny because we started off with Eastern sort of art.
Mm-hmm.
We started off with animes, then mangas. We did on our first, I think our pilot, we were more so talking about like us and what
Like our background.
our backgrounds, yeah, and our professional fields and what we do and stuff like that. But yeah, I was pretty excited because this is more of my expertise. Like I said on the previous episode, I wasn't really into mangas. I didn't know what they were until I started dating Bootang over here. But yeah, I was super excited for this episode because I have so much. I still, like, right now, I don't actually go to the website that I used to read comics on because I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of ads and malwares that are attached to that website. But I used to do it at work, so I wouldn't.
High key, I still go on the website.
No! There's this website called readcomics.com, and essentially they have like a bunch of hentai advertisements and like half naked
Hey,
anime.
if I can
and
read
stuff.
it, it's okay if I see a little booty.
No. But hey, no, it was a good website. So I wasn't really a big DC fan. I was more of a Marvel fan growing up. And
What's the biggest difference?
the writing. It's just more so the writing and the storylines. Obviously the heroes too, but there's been instances where Marvel and DC came together and created I forgot what the name of the universe was. I'll actually look it up right now. But yeah, I kind of wanted to instead of like talking too deeply into like each category like DC or DC and Marvel, I thought, you know what, let me just give the brief history, and then when I want to get into each which one, I'll go ahead and talk about it. But I really wanted to talk like the story behind comics and stuff like that, and how or where it came about. And you know, it started back. It's funny because it dates back to 1933. So this was that was the first comic.
Oh wow.
And it's funny because that first comic wasn't about superheroes. It was like a comedy book. So it was like just everyday people talking or like cracking jokes, or like think of a Tom and Jerry but comic books and humans.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's when it really kicked off, because shortly after in 1933, during the Great Depression, it was only like a couple years after, or if not a year after, I think it was like in 1935, where DC came first. So DC came first before Marvel. And so, you know, they were creating comic books, sort of keeping, their intention was to keep the attention away from the kids to
From the war.
the Great Depression.
I mean, the Great Depression.
And what was
sorry.
going on, and keeping kids entertained and stuff like that. And, you know, it was an escape. It was something for kids to read, you know, and someone to look up to, or something to look up to or look forward to. And I think it was beautiful because it's crazy to think that it wasn't until 5 years later Marvel didn't start. And that was in 39. And yeah, they're both very respectable. And then it's crazy because now they have like their own animations, or I should say cartoons. I mean, there it is an animation, but they have their own cartoons. They have their own movie adaptations of these comic books, and it's all. It's funny because when you think back to it, it was all because it was to keep the kids' attention away from the current hardships and what the people were going through, you know. And it's crazy because before I kind of felt childish sort of reading comic books like that, but as I got older, I think it was like towards high school, in the beginning of high school, end of middle school, where I was actually making a conscious effort of going out to gas stations, and Spider-Man comics would be in the newspaper.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would just like, you know, give the newspaper to my mom or dad, or just leave it in the kitchen, and I would have the actual Spider-Man comic, and I would take it to my room and read it. And this website sort of allowed me to do it, and I didn't feel too guilty because I was, like I said, on the work computer. So I didn't have to worry about getting a virus or anything like that. But yeah, it was like read comics online, and it wasn't until this new Carnage series came out, and it was like a Spider-Man villain, but he has his own series with Venom and stuff. And that took me way back, because then after reading that series and I finished it, I was like, well, let me go back to the very first Spider-Man comic that was released, you know. And I was going and I was reading them, and I was online, and I forgot the love that I had for comics. I was like, oh, this is so nostalgic, you know. I miss having the physical form. And I was going to bring on today's show the comics that I do have, but I thought,
remember seeing them.
yeah, there was one with like a completely silver cover. That one was my absolute favorite. That one's a limited edition. And a lot of them are still in the plastic wrap, and they haven't, well, majority of them have been taken out, which I should not have.
I was like, I wonder how much money we can get for them.
No, I opened them because I wanted to read them. And yeah, it's so crazy. Looking at the pages, they're like yellow, and they're not like your normal pieces of paper. But yeah, I thought I would take over on this episode because I absolutely adore comics, especially because as of recently, there's been more and more channels on YouTube that sort of praise all things comics. And I was never into, what's that thing called? Oh my gosh. E2C2 is Chicago's, but California has something like it. Comic-Con. Wow.
Oh, Comic-Con, yeah.
Oh my gosh, to see people dress up and to see people like sort of indulge into that sort of fantasy and dress up as their favorite characters. And you
like
know,
you touched on it earlier, you're like, you know, it was catered to kids, but there are a lot of
adults that
who are rocking their superhero, you know, like.
And it's funny because I was actually thinking of wearing my Flash t-shirt, but I was like, oh, that would have been too like on the head. And I would have felt like a poser because I'm not really into DC like I am into Marvel. Like when it came to the comics, I was always reading Marvel. The only DC comics that I was really reading was Batman and Flash. And now, instead of reading it and risking, you know, putting a virus on my laptop and going to that website, I follow this one page, and you guys may know the popular page, but Variant.
Oh,
and I mentioned him in the prior episode. I was like, tune in next week where we talk about all things comic. And that's his outro. And I thought, you know, it'd be like
Is it an homage?
Homage, yeah. Because I was just like, you know, I watch him, and he's like spoilers ahead, because the way he goes about each comic, he's like, if you haven't read the issue, do not watch this video. But a lot of times, because I'm not watching it, I prefer his explanation, because not only does he have this form of expression, but he really presents each issue. It's baffling to me how he doesn't get like copyrighted or anything like that, because he actually puts panels of certain pages to sort of describe what's going on. He doesn't reveal every single page, but he will give some panels of some pages sort of illustrating like, oh, this is what was in the comic.
Talking about,
exactly. Yeah. And then it's just like, whoa, I wish I could do that, but then I would have to go as far as scanning, and I'm not that big into comics where I would go as far as like reviewing it on my page. But it's something that I definitely enjoy, because when was it? A couple of days ago, we watched Wonder Woman 1984. 1984. And yeah, I was just I was always in love with the comics, and to see what they did with the Marvel movies, you know, they have Marvel TV shows. I always watched the old Spider-Man. Do you remember that one?
No.
Dun-na-na, dun-na-na. Yeah, there was an old animation of comics, or I guess you can call it cartoon.
Is
Of
it like when
Spider-Man.
those two Spider-Mans are facing each other?
Oh
Like
no.
that back in the day?
That back in the day.
He said-
Yeah. No, not that one. But I know which one you're talking about. And yeah, I don't know. I just was looking forward to this episode because I get to geek out just a little bit. Maybe in another episode when we dive into like DC or Marvel, I'll go ahead and wear the shirt and bring out the specific comic that I'm
yeah.
talking about, because I would love to. But no, this is more so like a brief history. I just wanted to say R.I.P. to our man Stan Lee, and Chadwick Boseman. Beautiful Souls did a tremendous job of, you know, sort of taking things off with Marvel.
Oh yeah.
Stanley was, and I love how he had cameos in each movie. It's gonna be so sad that he's no longer gonna have cameos. And you know, it was a shock to me when they announced that Chad had passed from cancer, and I was just
that
like,
was like out
"What?"
of left field. Like
Yeah, and I mean, it's understandable that he don't want to disclose that with anybody. You know, like as a celebrity, your life is already out there because of paparazzi or whatever it may be. But yeah, seeing
whatever
them
you can keep private, you
Right.
know, they probably would want to.
right, and then seeing them on the big screen is nice. But I love seeing them behind the scenes, and then seeing them at Comic-Con on the panel, sort of talking about the character. You know, some of them go as far as reading the comics, and others are just like, no, I go based off of the script and what the director wrote.
Like,
you know?
isn't that just a role for them? They're really invested in
The character and the story. Yeah, exactly. And although the story doesn't necessarily always match up with the comics, I still love how they take their own take on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I had some questions ready for you, and I was really intrigued to see some of your answers on some of these
I'm
questions.
a newbie when it comes to this world.
Right, but you and I have definitely sit down and took a stab at, you know, a lot of movies, whether it be Marvel, DC, and Star Wars isn't part of that, but they do have their own comics. They started off as comics as well. But yeah, Emergency Awesome also does it, but I'll talk about more about his channel in a bit. So when it comes to Marvel, do you have a specific franchise, group, or superhero that you admire
That's
most?
my favorite. I don't really know who falls into Is it like
X-Men, Avengers.
Okay. Who my favorite one?
Yeah, I mean, you can choose a specific hero, or you can choose one of the actual people.
So you said X-Men, right? Does
Yeah.
Wolverine fall under there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think Wolverine. He's the first one that just came to my head.
Really?
And I still haven't seen his movie, and I
Logan?
heard you're gonna cry.
I
I'm
don't
ready to
know.
cry.
She said, "I'm ready to
He
cry."
was Wolverine. Like
He was the longest
yo, those movies are
actor
so good.
to portray a role for that long. Have you seen the original X-Men?
Yeah, girl. Like we used to go to the movie theaters.
I know, yeah, me too.
To-
When he picked up Rogue, I think when
Yep.
he was in like the semi-truck or something, and then Sabretooth came out. And it's funny because when you look at was it? Oh my, the one that Deadpool makes fun of, where he has to go back. Remember when Wayne?
In his movie, in Deadpool's movie.
Yeah, let me look it up.
I don't know.
Let me see. X-Men. It's not First Class. Oh my. Let's see.
I definitely say though, the X-Men franchise, I feel more involved in, because yeah, like I said earlier, we used to go to the midnight on Friday or Saturday to watch the premiere. So I'm a little bit more familiar with the X-Men characters.
Okay, so I believe it's X-Men First Class. So essentially, it was where, you know, Wolverine goes from having, you know, bone
to metal.
and then his brother Sabretooth, remember he had long ones and he was hunting.
Yeah.
That Sabretooth looks like nothing from the original Sabretooth
Oh my
with
god,
long
that's
hair.
the same character?
That's the same character. That's his
Oh.
brother. Isn't that crazy?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even know noticed.
But no, yeah, it's crazy how these films change. And even if we look back, let me look it up. The first X-Men movie to ever come out, X-Men, was in 2000. And
Yep.
okay, so then 2000, when did Logan come out? Let's see. Logan came out in 2018.
I was gonna say 20.
Logan 17. I was a year off.
Oh wow.
2017. That is 17 years of this man playing the same role. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, dang. Okay, cool. So if that, okay, why don't you give me your number 2 and number 3? As far as like, it could be within the X-Men, but I mean, just like in Marvel as a collective, is there any superhero that really stands out to you, or you have like a favorite?
I think Captain America.
What?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, after watching all the most recent films with him, and then his solo movies, like Cap.
What? Okay, so wow. Okay, so who's your third?
Maybe one of the characters from Guardians of the Galaxy. Are they?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
Marvel. Yeah,
Like all of them. They're all funny.
like all of them.
Oh, you know what?
that
no,
doesn't count.
No, Thor.
Thor? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because Ragnarok that movie was beautiful. Like, that was a really good film.
Absolutely. I love
Like,
that.
out of all of Thor's solo movies, that visually, the storyline, like,
It was just beautifully
Yeah.
done.
it was wonderful to watch.
It really was.
Yeah.
Wow, that's real interesting. Yeah, it's funny you mention Thor. That was one of the ones that I'm recently reading or looking over with Variant is Thor's, 'cause Donny Cates is the current writer and illustrator for a lot of them. So he wrote Carnage. He's doing his own take on Venom right now, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's doing Thor right now.
Isn't there going to be a Doctor Strange? That movie was really good, too.
Oh, I was talking about the comics, but yes, Doctor
Oh.
Strange Madness. I'm excited because again, we're only getting into like sort of the basics or touching on the comic books, because there's so much that we can discuss
Yeah.
on, whether it be the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, or like the comics as well, and then there's also the TV shows that were released on Netflix: Jessica Jones, Luke Cage,
Wanda.
who?
Wanda? With
Who?
the Olsen sisters, little sister.
Oh, WandaVision. No, that's on Disney Plus.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
No, these are that was
That's a show of
No, you're right, but that still falls under the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh,
These
okay.
shows on Netflix weren't part of the
they
Marvel.
were separate.
They were separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're probably bad. Were they
Hold
bad?
on. First of all,
They sound like
they were
would be
cheesy and corny, but I wouldn't say they're
bad. Yeah, I
bad.
probably wouldn't watch it.
She said I probably wouldn't watch it. That's rude, first of all. But no,
Anyways,
I
yeah.
liked it. No, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. There's so much that we can touch on, and there's like different
Paths.
that you
that
can take with
take.
just Marvel, But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Thor, 'cause he's probably I would have to say my number one favorite.
Oh wow! I was
character.
not gonna guess that at all.
Yeah, only because him, or I would say Silver Surfer. I know he's like, so if you're not too familiar with the Marvel comics, Silver Surfer is actually the henchman or servant of Galactus, and he's a Centennial, and there's a movie coming out called Centennials. So hopefully you'll learn more. But he's the one that was also in the first adaptation of Fantastic Four. Do you remember Silver Surfer from that movie?
Yeah, wasn't he in one of the? He was in another movie, no? Or am I thinking of a different actor?
It was Silver Surfer. He's a man made of silver with a literal surfboard.
Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe I'm thinking.
He
of
made it to
someone else.
one movie,
Okay.
and
Oh, cool. I don't
that
think I've
that
seen
series
one.
of Fantastic Four.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how now Disney, I should say, since they bought Fox, takes the X-Men and Fantastic Four. It's really going to tie everything together, and I think they're going to start off with that Doctor Strange multiverse of madness multiverse or something like that.
Yeah, that one's gonna be good.
Yeah. But Silver Surfer is essentially like an anti-hero. He becomes a hero, but he at first he's like bad. You have to like fight him. Or he was like fought off by the world's mightiest heroes. It started off with like Fantastic Four and stuff like that. Thor or Silver Surfer, but my number 2 is definitely Spider-Man. Spider-Man is like,
you are Spider-Man.
I'm a Spider-Man. Like his alone, there's so many Spider-Man universes and so many Spider-Men. It's just crazy.
Yeah, my favorite is Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah, mine too, actually.
And then the recent one. What's
Tom Holland's?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where they take this one. This one's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Yeah, it's confirmed that not Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi, the director for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man,
Yes.
is directing Doctor Strange's new movie.
Nice.
Yes. Jamie Foxx is playing Electro. He played Electro in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
Morbius, that's another good one. He's going to be involved with Spider-Man. And then the old Dr. Octopus from Tobey Maguire series, he's coming as Dr. Octopus and Tom Holland. Isn't that crazy?
So they're all coming back.
Yeah. So they're saying they're going to make a Spider-Verse in the MCU.
Wow.
Yeah. But those are my 3 favorites. So here, let me spin it off in a different direction. Who is your favorite or your top 3 favorites for the DC universe?
Remind me again who's part of DC again.
Wonder Woman.
Oh, Batman.
Superman, Batman. Arrow.
Is the Joker part of that?
Yeah.
Probably Joker.
I wouldn't.
Is he?
He has worked with heroes at one point, but right now, I can't wait to go into his storyline because recently, his character has been taken off the rails. They have like numerous series. We'll touch on it later.
Oh, yeah, Batman. I would say the Batman franchise.
Really?
I really
enjoyed
along with like X-Men, like around the same time.
It's funny because when I did read DC comic books or when I dabbled in reading DC comics, the only ones that I would read was Batman or Flash.
Okay.
Flash, and even I know I shouldn't be saying this 'cause I'm not making anything as cool as that show, but on the CW they have a show called The Flash.
Yeah, I remember you said you used to watch that.
The visual effects are just terrible. And the storyline and the dialogue is so cheesy. It's just, oh.
Well, they used to have Smallville, which was based off Superman.
That crossed over.
Yeah.
They've crossed over.
That's so weird.
Isn't it so weird? Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like really cheesy, but I understand. It's like a TV show. They had a smaller budget.
I guess
all
the characters from Teen Titans, like Robin,
oh
Cyborg,
my gosh, yeah,
Starfire, aren't they all from that?
Yeah, they're part of the DC universe.
Okay.
Teen
Raven,
Titans,
Beast Boy, yeah.
Starfire.
That's how much I know of that. Of
you
DC
said my knowledge and
Cartoon
extent
Network.
is just that. Aw, dang. No, yeah, that was my favorite cartoon though. I did enjoy that cartoon.
Teen Titans.
It's funny you mentioned those. So it's
a mix. Yeah, I'm not that like
knowledgeable.
Batman and who else did you say? Batman. Superman. Superman, but I don't really like Superman and Wonder Woman. Yeah, no.
She said, no.
I think Batman was probably
no, and I understand. That's why I think there was talks too. You know how Funimation is buying Crunchyroll. Marvel or DC is looking, or Marvel is looking. They were like in negotiation of Marvel buying out DC.
Oh well, yeah. I feel like Marvel is a lot more popular than DC. Or am I wrong?
I mean, like, I wouldn't say that because there's a large, very, very large fandom of DC, and I know, like, Variant. I'm so terrible. I forgot.
Did you give out wrong dates?
No, I forgot what the name of the gentleman that hosts the show. I'm your host, Eris Quinones. That's his name. Aaron Quinones, I believe. He's actually a bigger DC fan than he is Marvel. I still enjoy his shows though because they're fantastic. Just the way he goes into details into each comic. But no, for me, it was just more so like I wasn't really into. The reason why I was gonna ask your favorite superheroes is because I was going to follow up with mine. For DC, it's Batman's my number 1.
Okay. Yep.
Flash is my number 2, and then my third one would probably be Superman. But for me, the only reason why I read Batman and the Flash the most is because they were a little bit darker, and they dealt with more like gruesome storylines, or like they dealt with death a lot. And Marvel, it wasn't really like that. It was just more like, oh, the good guys win again.
And I felt
You know what I
like
mean?
Batman was a black sheep because he doesn't really have superpowers, right?
I mean, girl, you can
He
say
just has a lot of money.
girl, you can say that about Iron Man. Iron Man ain't got no powers. He just got a lot of
Oh
money.
yeah, that's true. But he's in Marvel. I'm saying in the DC world. Compared to
Yes.
Superman and Wonder Woman, like they're
But he got his
gods.
brain though. His
Yeah,
brain
that's what I'm
is
saying.
the
I think that's why I liked
superpower.
him because I related. I mean,
Damn,
not
so
didn't
you're that
really
smart,
relate
huh?
with anything because I don't have a lot of money, but but like if I had his money, I'd probably be a superhero too.
True. I suppose. I kind of want to change my list because there is another superhero that I do prefer over Superman. I kind of like just threw
Yeah, let's
Superman
throw
in there.
Superman out. Who's your third?
Nah, I'm embarrassed to say. Nah.
Who's it?
Constantine.
Oh, I would throw
Constantine.
Constantine in there too. That was a good movie. I've never read his comic books, but
Constantine is so powerful. Spoilers for the next 2 seconds. Constantine is so powerful that in the DC universe, he brought God and devil to come and fight.
damn.
That's how powerful this man is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would want to read one of his
Yo,
comic books.
and he is dark. And then that's why I think I
Yeah.
liked him a little bit more than Superman, because Superman is just like, like white and red, white and blue, all spangled like banner.
Spangled banner.
Spangled banner. Oh, sorry, I'm struggling to say that one.
He's too polished for me. We need some dirt.
Right? Yeah, I like
Some
that.
emo
I like that. And
sad
I said
boy.
Flash because it could be Wally West or Barry Allen. Both of those characters are fantastic to me. Or Kid Flash. And I think that's why I enjoyed Flash, because it reminds me of Spider-Man in a sense where they have like numerous universes or
Yeah.
numerous Flashes within that storyline, And I feel like you can really branch out within just that one character, and they were able to really work with what they could with those characters in their own story lines and create numerous storylines just off of this one. But to go back to the beginning of the conversation and the beginning of the live stream, when Marvel and DC collaborated, they called that series the Uncanny series. So essentially, there was like two creators coming together and releasing their universes upon each other, and that's where they then met the DC universe and the Marvel universe. And one of the covers is really beautiful. I wish I could show you guys, but
Oh yeah, that's nice.
it's Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, and it's a beautiful cover. And they did numerous series, but this I believe started in the 1980s, and the first one was Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. The second one was Superman and Spider-Man. The third one was Batman versus the Incredible Hulk. Don't know how that one went. I never read that issue. But then the fourth one was Uncanny, X-Men and the New Teen Titans.
Oh, that's so cool.
Isn't that so awesome? Yeah, I know. And I'm excited to jump into each character because, as we said, guys, we definitely want to
dive in
because it's not enough for like 30 minutes or an hour to sort of really touch on these, because there is so much to talk about. And as you see, like when it comes to like Emergency Awesome or Variant, their videos are like 15 minutes and they're only talking about one issue. And sometimes it could last up to an hour.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, well, in issue 39 of, Venom, this is what happened. And they go on. And it's just like, I think that's why I like that, because they're diving deep into the story and giving their opinion and be like, a lot of times I love hearing Quinones be like, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's freaking awesome. And you're like, yeah, that is kind of awesome, actually. Because he's geeking out, he's really enjoying the storyline and the art and what the character's going through, or how the artists are taking their adaptation of the character. Because when you look back at a lot of the characters, like Stan Lee's and Donny Cates, the recent artist,
Yeah.
their adaptation of Peter Parker are completely different. You know, and the art is just illustrated so differently. The old ones are so nostalgic, and then there was this term that Spider-Man 2099 also used along with Peter Parker, because they didn't really swear back in the old comic books.
Yeah.
They used to use like darn tootin' or there's a specific phrase. I forgot what the phrase was, and it's so funny because you're like, this was tailored towards kids. You know, you don't want to be having that harsh language. This is not something that you would expect from an old comic. But looking at comic books now, it's not just tailored to kids. It's tailored to a wider audience, you know.
Exactly. And I think like the beautiful the reason why you enjoy those videos is 'cause like it goes further than typically when you're reading, you're by yourself.
Right.
And then you can, with these videos, you can express your perspective and open the table to the community, people who also enjoy these stories, characters, and yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why you enjoy watching those types of videos.
Yeah, 'cause you get to geek out with someone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't believe Star Wars falls under Marvel. I can look that up right now. But Star Wars was also
10 out of 10.
yeah, it was a comic before it became oh, it is Marvel's. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it is Marvel?
Yeah, it's Marvel.
Oh.
So Star Wars comics falls under Marvel, and they have some amazing art in there too, but
another great franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Star Wars.
It's so good.
You got me into Star Wars.
I did, and it's funny because I prefer Star Wars over Star Trek. I could just never really get into Star Trek.
No, me neither. No.
I don't know. It was just another cheesy franchise. I was just like, I'm already into so many cheesy franchises. Let me just deal with one at a time. And it's not something. It's just something that I never really got around to. It's not that I'm like not open to it, but
it just wasn't your jam.
It really wasn't.
No, sometimes it's a miss.
Yeah. What's his name? Chris something did the voice for Spider-Man, but he also played one of the main characters in Star Trek. Chris Pine.
Oh.
Chris Pine, that was also recently in the new Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's in the most recent Star Trek, 'cause wasn't it their older characters?
Oh yeah,
actors?
there was older adaptations of Star Trek. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, no, my if I have to pick a favorite out of all the Star Trek, I've only seen a few of them. It's probably Chris Pine's Time, where he was in it. But he's a fantastic actor.
Yes.
And when I found out he was the blondie Peter Parker from Spider-Verse, I was just like, that's cute.
Oh, really?
That's him, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When he dies, he's like, oh.
Well,
Sorry
it's been out
for
for a while.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, so I don't care if I spoiled it for you. You should have been watched it. That's on Netflix.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, that's on you. That's on you, actually. But yeah, I didn't really have too much. I just wanted to touch on it lightly.
Yeah, do you got anything else for us?
No, that was really all I had, because I do want to jump into Marvel as a whole and like my favorite characters and go into depth for each one. So you guys can look forward to the following episodes being more into depth into each character, because you guys have this video to look back on to sort of, getting a little bit more history on, where comics originated. Yeah, because I love what we did with our episode for manga.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I'm excited to take this to something that I'm familiar with, because you had
a little bit more knowledge.
Yeah, you had more control over that episode. And I'm excited because I also feel like now that we have this show and we get to talk about these things, it's going to hold me accountable, keeping up with the latest issues the best I can. Probably should stop reading comic books illegally and go through more.
Support your artists.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah, because we actually talked about that on the previous episode.
Yeah, I did used to read illegal manga.
Manga. Wait,
but I didn't
how was
know
it?
At that time.
Yeah, what was it?
Manga stream.
Manga stream.
But they took it down. I believe they have a new website up similar to it, but it's not the same. Yeah.
She said, yeah, no.
No, support your local artists.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I at one point, even before I started reading comics at work again, because the only reason why I really started reading comics at work again was because I read that manga. And I'm just like, oh,
definitely.
yeah. And I was reading webtoons. And we'll jump more into webtoons as well because Korean illustrations and animation, I just feel like is a whole nother world compared to like Western comics and, Japanese manga.
Yeah.
And I just really want to, introduce you to certain reads that I find enjoyable, because I know you growing up reading mangas, it was straight black and white, but me reading comic books, it was just so full of color and the art is just completely different. So I'm excited for, this accountability that I'm going to have for myself, but yet the new stories that I get to show you, because I know as well you're going to continue to show me new mangas and new animations, and I feel like
and when we were explaining our favorite characters, we kind of have similar tastes.
yeah.
In like the stories and such, so it'd be interesting to see how this unfolds.
Yeah, and because there's new comics and new characters being introduced into both franchises. Like for instance, DC came out with this new one where it's very Spider-Man-esque, where he's just a teenager and he gains his powers. I forgot how, but essentially what he can do is he can just like slice his hand, like he like sticks out claws or something, and he rips through the fabric of time and space. And he can jump into anywhere, anytime.
Kind of like a modern time traveler.
Something like that, but he's a teenager and his life is always like in a rut. He's always got bad luck on him. And Peter Parker as a character, nothing is going right for him.
Yeah.
But despite all of his hardships, he still chooses to be a hero and help others. And I'm just like, damn. And that's what this new character in DC is sort of like. And I was just like, oh, well, there's plenty of new stuff to, keep up with and introduce you to. So I'm excited to continue on this path and inform you guys as well on the new comics that are coming out with DC and Marvel. Support those artists for real, because they have applications, and if you can, I know it's going to be expensive, but, if you're really into it, purchase it. Enjoy those reads, and if not, then I definitely would 100% recommend Emergency Awesome. His YouTube channel is amazing because he focuses more so on the cinematic version of comics. So he is into comic books and Comic-Con and stuff like that, and he'll review sort of panels that went on in Comic-Con or his experience in Comic-Con. But his focus more so isn't like Quinones, where he looks up or looks too deep into the comics. He'll shift his focus onto like the movies, like the MCU. He'll review trailers, he'll review Easter eggs when the movie comes out, and then he'll do TV shows. And that's for both Marvel, Star Wars, DC. Like, he's really into it. So Emergency Awesome is 100% a recommendation of mine on YouTube if you guys want to keep up with the statuses of, comic book, what would you call it? Comic book related media, I guess, like movies and stuff like that. But for, your actual reads and stuff like that, if you guys are truly into comics, I would definitely give Variant a check out, because they have such an amazing channel. And in October, he goes like Villains Month, and he'll review like villains or his top villains and stuff like that, whether it be Marvel or not. And he does such a great job of reviewing it and really gives you his all. He also has a podcast, so if you guys want to go check that out,
awesome.
it's pretty awesome. But yeah, that's really all I had. I'm glad that we started off saying happy birthday to
Sir Miyazaki.
Miyazaki. I thought it was Hayazaki. Miyazaki. Happy 80th birthday to my mans.
A wonderful creator, director, animator.
Yeah, he really is.
Everything.
But I'm not gonna lie to you folks, I completely forgot about Marvel Cinematic Universe is gonna be our next topic for our episode. But thank you again for everyone who took the time to come view the show on today's episode 4. We're your host, live with Enrique,
Ariana Villalon,
and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace, YouTube. Wow.